I forgot my pole!
Out in nature, danger rarely gives a warning. It shows up fast, and it hits hard. From a peaceful campsite suddenly shaken by a powerful earthquake, to a calm shoreline turning deadly as a massive wave pulls someone into the sea. When everything changes in seconds, would you react in time, or freeze when it matters most? This disturbing clip was shared on Aligabasti's Instagram and shows a peaceful camping trip in Chippewasan Valley, turning dangerous without warning. Campers had set up near the mountains of Yeshikov, enjoying the quiet, unaware. They were standing at the center of a powerful force. Suddenly, the ground started to shake. A 5.8 magnitude earthquake tore through the valley, causing tents to tremble as rocks fell from nearby slopes and dust filled the air. The footage captures the moment panic took over, with campers running as the earth refused to stay still. With no shelter and mountains surrounding them, every second felt critical. When the shaking finally stopped, one question remained. If nature can turn deadly that fast, would you know when to run, or would it already be too late? This frightening clip was shared on Guide Toys Land's Instagram. A small group went camping at Reynisfjara, the black sand beach in Iceland. The shoreline was striking, covered in dark sand, scattered stones, and framed by cold, towering cliffs. Waves crashed against the coast, creating a scene that was both beautiful and powerful, almost unreal. As one person filmed the view, a massive wave suddenly surged toward the group. The force of the ocean knocked one camper into the water. In a terrifying moment, they were dragged away, struggling against the freezing current. Panic spread as the others rushed in, working together to pull their friend back to safety. They survived thanks to quick reactions and teamwork, but the moment was a harsh reminder of how unpredictable the sea can be. Iceland's landscapes are breathtaking, but they can also be unforgiving. When nature looks calm one second and turns dangerous the next, would you know how close is too close? On March 15, 2025, a group of hikers began ascending Spantik Peak in Pakistan's Karakoram Range. A thin layer of snow covered the mountain, making each step unstable, as exposed patches of ground turned the climb into a constant balance between safety and danger. The mountain felt quiet but unpredictable. Without warning, a massive boulder resting on a nearby slope started to move slowly at first, then crashing downward, sending rocks flying in every direction. The hikers shouted and scrambled as it rushed toward them. When danger appears, that suddenly was it pure luck that saved them, or a warning they failed to notice. In a video shared on Puberty's Instagram, two friends were camping beside a river on a cold winter day, surrounded by ice and snow. The riverbanks were frozen, and everything seemed calm beneath the dim winter sun. They set up camp and enjoyed the quiet, icy surroundings, unaware that danger was building upstream. Suddenly, they noticed something unusual. A powerful surge of water came rushing down the river, carrying large chunks of ice with it. An ice dam upstream had broken, releasing hours of trapped water in an instant. The campers watched in shock as the icy flood swept past, strong enough to destroy anything in its path. Moments like this show how quickly nature can shift. When camping near frozen water, would you recognize the warning signs, or realize too late? She lost her footing in the rocky stream and was carried toward the waterfall. The stones were sharp and slick from the rushing water, and she narrowly avoided hitting her head as her body slipped and twisted. The current pulled hard, threatening to drag her straight over the edge. Another woman rushed in to help, but within seconds she slipped as well, falling into the water. The first woman reached out and grabbed her hand, but the narrow ledges offered no stability. For a moment it felt like both could be pulled under and slammed against the rocks below. In situations like this, one wrong step can turn fatal. Would you know how to react before the water takes control? A woman records herself as she walks along a narrow mountain trail covered in loose gravel beneath her feet. The path is unstable, and the sharp drop beside her allows no margin for error.
No. Oh my god, this is literally terrifying. This is literally so terrifying. Oh my god. I'm over here. Oh my god.
In the footage, small stones slide with each step while the wind moves past her. She keeps her gaze forward, aware that one misstep could send her over the edge. Some think fear exaggerates how dangerous the drop feels, while others recognize the real risk of trails like this. If you were in that situation, would you continue or turn around? A hiker films his journey along a rain-drenched mountain trail, where the surface appears slippery and unstable. At first, the climb seems under control, but the conditions feel uncertain. In the footage, a single misstep causes him to slide down the steep slope mud, and rocks rushing past as he loses control. Just before the fall becomes deadly, a sturdy tree halts his descent. Some see it as sheer luck, while others view it as a reminder of how quickly nature can shift. If that tree hadn't been there, do you think he would have made it out? This disturbing clip was shared on Mankolet's TikTok and shows a group of friends camping in a forest on a mountainside, accompanied by a local guide. Recent rain had soaked the terrain, making each step slippery and tense as they ventured deeper into the woods. Without warning, one of the women suddenly cried out in pain, grabbing her eye and calling for help. When the group moved closer, they noticed something alive moving inside her eye. Panic spread immediately as they attempted to remove it, but whatever it was would not come out. She screamed in fear and pain while her friends struggled, unsure of what they were facing. After a long and frightening moment, they were finally able to remove it safely. Relief followed, but the unease remained. If something so small could turn a camping trip into a nightmare, would you know how to react? This person was walking through the forest, casually recording the surroundings, when everything suddenly shifted. Without any warning, a massive boulder came into view, rolling straight through the trees, as if nothing could stop it. There was no clear cause, no visible force behind it, just the rock moving on its own. For a moment, it becomes clear how dangerous the situation could have been. The boulder eventually slowed and came to a stop, but the moment remained tense and unsettling. Sometimes nature moves in ways no one can predict. A small group chose to camp along a beach on a bright sunny day. The shoreline looked calm and inviting, showing no signs of danger. But farther out at sea, something else was building. One person noticed a massive wave approaching and quickly realized it wasn't typical surf. It was a sneaker wave capable of rushing far beyond the usual shoreline and pulling anything in its path back into the ocean. As the wave surged toward them, the group ran for higher ground while filming the moment. Another surge followed even closer, catching two people in the sudden pull of the water. A companion rushed in and managed to pull them back to safety just in time. When the water finally receded, the group stood in shock, reminded of how unpredictable the ocean can be. Calm water can be deceptive, and sneaker waves come without warning. Would you recognize the danger before it was too late? A Reddit user was out hiking when she witnessed something she never expected. Without warning, a massive bear began climbing a tree, and not slowly. It rushed straight up the trunk with surprising speed, moving far faster than she thought possible. She froze, suddenly aware of how quickly and quietly a bear can move. Avoiding eye contact, she carefully backed away and left the area, her heart racing. It serves as a clear reminder that in the wild, danger can appear in seconds. Would you know when to walk away before it's too late? This unsettling clip was shared on Lakrama's Instagram. What seems like a calm moment quickly changes when a tiger steps onto the road. It moves with quiet confidence, briefly looking toward the campers and passing dangerously close along the path. Each step is slow and deliberate, and the forest falls completely silent, as if everything around it has frozen. Even after the tiger walks away, the tension doesn't disappear. It serves as a reminder of how raw and unpredictable the wild can be. If a predator like this can show up without warning, even in daylight, would you know whether to stay still or move at all? This striking clip was shared on Sapavago's Instagram. Someone went camping in a park near a forest in Yosemite National Park, California, on December 26, 2025. The day was quiet with light rain falling, and the campsite felt calm and still. But when they stepped out of their camper, something immediately caught their attention. A wild bobcat moved quietly through the nearby trees. The animal looked beautiful, but anyone familiar with the outdoors understands that even smaller wildcats can be dangerous. The camper and the bobcat came face to face, standing only a few feet apart, with tension filling the moment. Every movement mattered, yet neither was harmed, making the encounter unforgettable. It served as a strong reminder that in the wild, beauty and danger often exist side by side. Even on a peaceful day, nature can shift without warning. If you found yourself face to face with a predator like this, would you stay calm or run? The footage was recorded by a drone at the summit of a mountain. A woman sits directly at the edge of a cliff with nothing ahead of her but open air and a drop that extends thousands of feet below. There are no railings or any visible support, only empty space beneath her legs as they hang over the edge. She seems calm, but the position itself feels risky, as if one small misstep could change everything. The view is stunning, but the danger can't be ignored. The angle might make the height appear more extreme than it really is. Or she may be familiar with terrain like this, but if you were there, would you trust yourself or step back before it's too late? This video shows a large rattlesnake crossing a dusty roadside before slipping into the forest, filmed by a man driving past. The brief encounter ends without incident, raising the question of how often hidden dangers go unnoticed on remote roads. A man on a wildlife adventure saw this on Kelso Ridge. As the man was climbing the ridge, the creature was moving down. After spotting the man, it stopped and looked at him for a moment before continuing on. As nervous as the man appeared, it was simply a lucky day for him that the goat didn't attack. A mysterious clip from Russia shows a large humanoid figure, often referred to locally as Almisti, partially hidden deep within a wooded area.
Тихо, он, опять на нас попёр, наверное. Засни, если что, на YouTube выложим.
Вон, смотри.
Тихо, блин, он двигается сюда.
Я боюсь. Вон, смотри. Он ветки не шевелит, по-моему.
Я ничего не вижу. О, вон, передвигается.
As the camera steadies, the dark, bulky shape appears to shift slightly, blending into the trees before moving deeper into the forest.
Чучело.
Смотри, ветки шатаются. Смотри.
О, побежал! Я заснял его!
Чтоб не испугать его, пошли.
Я заснял! Ё-моё!
Где-то килограмм 200 весит.
Угу. Видел, как он своими лапами машет?
Смотри,
Вон.
2 метра рост.
Ё!
The person filming tries to get closer, but the figure slips behind dense foliage and disappears from view before the recording ends. Limited visibility and movement through thick brush can make identification difficult. Was this a known animal, misidentified in low clarity, or something the camera couldn't fully capture?
Я боюсь. Вон, смотри. Он ветки не шевелит, по-моему.
Я ничего не вижу. О, вон, передвигается чучело.
Ветки шатаются. Смотри.
О, побежал! Я заснял его!
Испугаться, пошли.
Я заснял!
This unsettling footage shows a man exploring forest land when he notices a strange dark figure partially visible among the trees. Believing he saw a face watching him, he tries to look again. But the figure quickly slips behind a tree and disappears from view. Limited visibility and fear can easily distort perception in dense forests. Was this a real figure reacting to being seen, or a shadow misread in the moment? This video, reportedly filmed in Mount Hood National Forest near Portland, shows 3 campers moving through the woods after dark when they notice something unsettling nearby. From the trees, a large shadowy figure briefly comes into view, appearing to watch them before slowly moving away. The figure's size and shape led the men to compare it to Bigfoot, made even more frightening by the darkness and limited visibility. As panic sets in, they retreat quickly, breathing heavily as they run for safety. Night conditions and fear can distort what the eye sees, but was this simply a misidentified animal in low light, or something the campers couldn't explain? A brief clip from Namibia shows a strange figure with both human and animal-like features
Recording. Tiny beetle now.
moving in an unusual way, leaving witnesses uncertain.
Non-explosive. It's all familiar with it.
Limited visibility and distance make it difficult to identify. Was this a misidentified figure or something unexplained? A UK highway surveillance clip shows a humanoid-like figure running across a 4-lane road at unusual speed. Camera limitations may distort perception, but was it just a person or something else? This footage shows 2 bow hunters camping near the Banff Park boundary, who later uncover an unsettling nighttime visitor. To stay safe, they left a camera pointed at their camp while heading out to hunt, only to check the footage after returning. What appears in the darkness is a massive figure stepping out from thick brush, its shape resembling both a gorilla and a Bigfoot. Low light and distance can distort familiar shapes, but the sighting remains disturbing. Was this a known animal caught at the right angle? Or something the camera couldn't clearly identify? A clip from China shows a dragon-like figure moving through water. Inside a cave, its long, scaly body gliding smoothly beneath the surface. Lighting and perspective may offer an explanation, but was it a real animal or just an illusion? An unsettling nighttime clip shows a group of men in the woods recording what they believe to be the mysterious creature known as the rake. The footage shows a pale humanoid figure with glowing eyes moving in an unnatural way through the darkness. As it seems to turn toward them, fear takes hold, and the recording ends suddenly. Low light and panic can distort perception at night, but was this a misidentified person or animal or something far more unsettling? Two friends were hiking along a narrow, windswept mountain ridge, the kind of path where a single misstep could have serious consequences. Then, in an instant, everything changed.
Jesus, Alan. I'm filming. Don't die on camera. Although that would blow up on Instagram, you know?
One hiker lost his balance. His heart raced as he teetered dangerously close to the edge, the steep drop just inches away. Time seemed to slow, each second stretching as he struggled to regain control. With a sudden, desperate shift in his weight, he managed to steady himself at the last possible moment. One small mistake could have turned a beautiful hike into a tragedy. If you were standing on that ridge and felt your footing slip, would you trust your balance? Or turn back before going any farther? This unsettling moment happened to a hiker who had been enjoying his trip until night began to fall. He was still walking down the trail alone in the darkness when he heard a strange sound echoing from somewhere in the distance. At first he ignored it and kept moving, assuming it was nothing unusual. Then he saw her. Standing farther up the path was a figure dressed completely in white. Her eyes looked pale and long black hair hung over her face. The moment he realized what he was looking at, a surge of fear ran through him. The figure, whatever it was, started moving toward him slowly, one step at a time, without making any sound. If you were standing there in the dark and saw that figure coming closer, would you freeze and wait, or turn and run without looking back? Late one night, a farmer in rural Michigan received a motion alert from a trail camera set deep in the woods on his property, far from roads, houses, airports, or any known light source. Expecting to see nothing more than deer passing through, he began reviewing the footage. Instead, what appeared made his stomach drop. In the pitch-dark surroundings, a sudden powerful beam of light descended from above, briefly illuminating the nearby trees. There were no vehicles, no people, and no clear explanation. The light appeared without warning and vanished just as quickly. Even years later, the footage still stays with him. If you checked your camera and saw that, would you go looking for answers, or leave the woods alone? Late one night, a group of friends was walking through a quiet city park when they came across something that felt like it belonged in a nightmare.
There's a fucking seance going on at this park, dude. Yo, these are like lit too. What the f?
Oh, hell no. I want to go home. I forgot my pole.
There's like an actual like meat.
No, this shit kind of crazy.
Spread across the ground were handwritten signs surrounded by flickering candles and pieces of raw chicken. The setup looked intentional and recent, as if whoever arranged it had just disappeared into the darkness. The candles were still burning, casting uneven light over the scene. Some of the writing on the signs appeared to form a name, adding to the unsettling feeling that this wasn't random. Not knowing who had been there or what it meant, they decided not to stay and quickly walked away, putting distance between themselves and the display. If you'd stepped into that park and saw those candles still burning, would you have taken a closer look or walked away without looking back? This frightening moment happened while a woman was hiking alone on a forest trail. As she continued forward, she noticed a dark shape moving in the bushes ahead of her. Her heart dropped instantly. Not knowing what it was, she froze in place and waited, staying as quiet as possible so she could get a clearer look. After several tense seconds, the figure stepped out from the brush and crossed the trail. That was when she realized what she was facing: a moose, massive, silent, and far too close for comfort. Once it finally disappeared, she began moving again. Moments like this show how quickly calm can turn into danger. If you were alone on that trail, would you keep going, or turn back after a reminder of who truly controls the forest? A Reddit user shared a story that still unsettles many people. He set out alone on a hike into a remote desert mountain. When he reached the summit, the marked trail was gone. What remained was a narrow, slanted rock ridge with steep drops on both sides. Standing there, your mind would race. Your heartbeat would grow louder than the wind. Your legs would shake as loose rocks shifted beneath your feet. Still, he kept moving forward. Step by step, breath by breath, he eventually made it back safely. If you were faced with a ridge where one mistake could be your last, would you keep going, or turn back before it was too late? A TikTok user was hiking along a quiet forest trail with her husband when the atmosphere suddenly felt different. Her husband stepped away for a moment, then calmly but urgently called her name. Within seconds, the forest seemed to shift. From the trees ahead, a coyote quietly stepped onto the path. The animal never noticed her and slipped back into the woods, disappearing as silently as it had appeared. Only afterward did she fully realize why her husband had called out to her. The wild gives no warning, and awareness can mean everything. If you heard your name called like that, would you freeze, or look up in time to see what was there? 5 miles deep in the forest, far beyond any marked trail, he came across something that immediately unsettled him. Standing alone was a tree covered in bones. Animal skulls had been carved with unfamiliar symbols. Bones were tied together, and one had been painted red as if it had been part of some kind of ritual. Shaken but curious, he took a photo before leaving the area. When he returned the next day, everything was gone. It was as if the entire scene had never existed. Who placed it there? Was it part of a ritual? A warning meant to be seen only once, or something darker that was never meant to be discovered again? If you had found that tree deep in the woods, would you have stayed to take a closer look, or walked away immediately? During what seemed like a calm, ordinary hike, someone paused to take a quick photo with their dog, expecting nothing more than a simple keepsake. Later, when they looked back at the image, they noticed something deeply unsettling. In the background, barely visible, was a dark, shadow-like figure with what appeared to be glowing eyes. Even more disturbing was the dog's reaction. The retriever stood completely calm, showing no signs of fear. Many people argue that would be unlikely if something threatening had actually been nearby. Years later, the photo remains unexplained, leaving people to wonder what was truly there that day. If you found something like that hidden in your own picture, would you dismiss it or start questioning what might have been watching you? This unsettling clip was shared on Horror Chill's TikTok, filmed deep in the forest late at night. A small group is recording in near total darkness. One person stands a few steps ahead, quietly speaking towards something hidden among the trees, while the others remain behind with cameras raised. Their flashlights illuminate only him, leaving everything beyond swallowed by darkness. The tension feels heavy, as if the forest itself is watching.
I don't know. I've been face down in a ditch for 2 hours. I don't think there's much left I have to prove. Okay, if you can come I don't know where this thing is or when it's gonna.
Without warning, a pale white figure bursts out from the darkness and grabs him. Within seconds, he is violently dragged deeper into the woods, disappearing between the trees. His friends immediately shout and rush after him, trying to help. There are no answers about what happened next, and no clear explanation for what emerged from the dark. If you were standing there after midnight and saw someone pulled into the trees like that, would you chase after them or stay back and call for help? A disturbing video circulating on TikTok shows a lone hiker traveling deep into the Mojave Desert, miles from the nearest town or paved road. The landscape stretches endlessly in every direction, dry, empty, and wrapped in an eerie silence. There are no footprints in the sand, no signs of wildlife, no indication that anyone else has passed through in a long time. That silence is suddenly broken. Without warning, a sharp, piercing scream echoes across the open desert. Startled and uncertain, the hiker freezes, scanning the horizon in every direction. Nothing appears. Nothing that could explain the sound. The scream feels wrong, almost unnatural, as if it doesn't belong in such a remote and lifeless place. The camera jerks violently as panic takes over, capturing only the vast desert behind him as the echo fades into the distance. If you were standing there and heard that scream with nothing around, would you stay and search for the source, or run without looking back? This terrifying experience was shared by a Reddit user who thought he was setting out on another quiet solo hike through the forest. The trail felt calm and uneventful until he saw it. A massive grizzly bear was walking straight toward him, and he was completely alone on the path. With shaking hands, he pulled out a can of pepper spray and aimed it at the bear's face. The spray made contact, and the bear immediately turned away, running in the opposite direction, leaving him physically unharmed. In moments like that, survival can come down to one small piece of gear and one quick decision. Sometimes preparation makes all the difference, but sometimes it's just timing. If you were standing there without that spray, would you stay composed or freeze at the worst possible moment? This unsettling encounter happened to a man who went out for a hike and found himself still moving through the forest after night had fully set in, relying only on a flashlight to see the path ahead. Then the beam caught something unusual further down the trail. In the distance, several figures stood close together, gathered as if in the middle of some kind of meeting. Confused but curious, he stepped forward carefully, trying to make out what he was seeing. That was when he heard it: low laughter, strange and deeply unnerving. The shapes resembled witches standing silently within the darkness. Without hesitation, he turned and ran, refusing to look back even once. If you were alone on that trail and saw figures like that ahead, would curiosity keep you there for another second? Or would you run too? That's it for tonight. Which moment creep? Drop it in the comments. Have your own story, share it with us, and stay tuned. The next one is even darker.